Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the official Nerd Talk channel. My name is Tyler, aka Mondo Nerd, joined by my co-host AJ Reacts to. We are back for a special Sunday edition of Nerd Talk. We are on episode 132. Today, we are going to give you a live spoiler talk for the newest addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Agatha. All along, this will be a full spoiler discussion. So if you have seen the entirety of Agatha all along, feel free to comment down below your theories, your thoughts on the show, where we're going, because I have some questions about that too. But what's going on, bro?
Um, I'm good. It's a lot going on over here in the household. I don't know if we mentioned it on the stream, but I am a new
Didn't.
father. So, there's a lot of commotion and chaos, but a lot of love also going on in the household, but and I also got a new job, so there's a lot of new life changes happening in my life. So things are going to look a little different for Nerd Talk, but I'm good, and I'm ready to discuss this topic that we have today. Yeah.
Uh, Before we get into it, we have one trailer that randomly dropped Friday. That is for the Skeleton Crew. So this is the second trailer for the newest Star Wars Disney Plus show. It will be arriving in December. It stars Jude Law, and we got the first trailer for this, I think, at D23, and I enjoyed the first trailer. I was like, this looks harmless enough. It looks like Goonies and Star Wars. It looks okay. And we get this trailer, and it definitely confirms that it's Goonies with Star Wars. It's weird seeing a Star Wars trailer with a pop song in it, but I mean,
that
I can
that was really
see can
strange.
see people saying, "Oh my God, what are they doing, bro?" At this point, it's either you be acolyte or you be mainstream. Pick your fucking poison at this point. you
Honestly.
know but I enjoyed this trailer. I wish we knew more about it. That's kind of my biggest issue, is we don't know really what's happening, other than these kids are just walking around doing dumb things. But it looks fun. It looks like it's gonna pass the time. I'm not gonna take this too seriously, and I think I'm kind of happy about that. This isn't gonna tie into Jedi and Sith and the Force. It's just gonna be something like Solo, where it's like you don't like. Well, I feel like I took Solo seriously because it's a prequel showing the origins of one of my favorite characters. But like this, it's literally just let's just hang out. It's like Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws doesn't really tie into anything that much. But
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to this. If it's as calm and relaxed as this trailer was, I give it a 3.5. Like, it was cool. We walked around, we did some things, we told some jokes, we had some cool action. Jude Law killed it. I don't know this, but I mean, Jude Law is normally good in anything. He was the one good thing in those Fantastic Beasts movies. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not complaining about it. As long as it's not making me pull my hair, as long as it's not boring. That's my thing too. I don't need this to be boring. The worst thing the show can be is boring.
Mhm.
You'll hear that in about 5 minutes. But the worst thing a show can be is boring. So just don't be boring and be fun. That's all I can ask. And this show looks the opposite of that. What are your thoughts on the trailer?
So I did watch the teaser trailer when it came out. I thought it was looked okay. I was like, this is different for Star Wars, but maybe it seems harmless. And I had a lot of the same thoughts watching this new trailer as you did. The pop song, that's like one of the biggest things that stuck out to me. I was like, this feels weird. As far as having that in the background of the trailer, but I know that it was to like show the tone of what the show is going to be, and like how it's kind of like geared towards family slash kids. Like it's not going to be like these other Star Wars projects that are for like more adults and more mature audiences, I guess you could say. But something that I am really hoping for this show is that the child acting is good.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be like, whoa, they're
Yeah,
prodigy. It don't have to be like that. But
but
I want
not
it
acolyte.
not acolyte, and I want it to be competent. I don't want them to just like have some of these kids that are just,
Yeah,
not really
when you do projects like Goonies, Sandlot,
good.
Monster Squad. I'm throwing Monster because Monster Squad is just like those movies.
Hmm.
You want the group of kids to a have good chemistry and be good actors.
True.
So
True.
you
And
know,
and like I said, it doesn't have to be like, blow me away or anything, but
hmm
be competent enough to carry the show, and from the trailer, it does look like they're, have some nice camaraderie, have some nice chemistry as far as I can tell so far. Jude Law looks really cool. Like, I like his role in the show. Like, the kids kind of get caught up into some, shenanigans, and he like comes through and it's like, come with me if you want to, survive, and like that. But it seems like he definitely has ulterior motives. And that'd be interesting to see. Now, before the stream, we looked up how many episodes we're gonna have for this show, and it's 8 episodes. The concept of the show doesn't feel like it needs 8 episodes, but if the episodes are short enough and the pacing is tight enough, then I don't see a huge problem with it. But it's a very big maybe. It's a very big,
this
you know.
this is the issue, right? So what I'm about to describe, these shows back in the day were never really good per se, but we used to get cartoons like this all the time. So where you get a group of kids and they'd be going on these adventures and these worlds. I don't know why I can't think of specific ones, but I'm sure they are there. And they would have like what 20 episodes per season. They'd be 20 minutes, and kids would sit there and watch them and enjoy them. Like get like Batman the animated series.
Scooby Doo.
The Scooby Doo, Ninja Turtles, where
Yes, sir. Yep.
it would be essentially the same concept, but little tweaks here and there. The problem is, I'd be okay if this show was just that for 8 episodes, but the problem is it's telling an overarching story,
So telling an
and
overarching story,
I
yes,
think that's a
and it's live
mistake.
action.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. Truth be told, I think
Mhm.
I would not mind if they make it like a Cowboy Bebop thing, where it's just, yeah, it's these group of kids. They're like, hey, we're outcasts in the galaxy. Nobody likes us because we're weird. I know one of them is like an alien, but
Mhm.
like, make it that like,
Elephant.
oh yeah, it's like, yeah, we're all weird. Nobody likes us. Let's like have our own fun. Let's go on these adventures and look for Star Wars treasures.
Yeah.
I think that could be a serviceable enough little show. Like I
Probably
don't.
don't need 20 some episodes, but
Yeah,
I see what you mean though.
if at least if it was like that, and I'd heard, yeah, it's 8 episodes, I'd be like, oh, okay, sure.
Hmm.
But them saying like, hey, it's gonna be an overarching episode, we're probably gonna get a flashback episode showing where Jude Law comes from. You know,
Yep.
I hope it's able to maintain momentum. That's
Agreed. Agreed.
that's my biggest worry with it.
And
But
we also discussed off camera, like, if they're doing something like this, it kind of feels like they should have done like a Disney Plus movie or special. That probably would have worked better. We don't know exactly what it's gonna be like, and like that, but for this concept, it feels like it could have worked better as a movie.
mhm.
Um, Probably don't need it on the big screen, but a Disney Plus thing
Which
that could have worked.
I think Disney really needs to start exploring the concept of doing Disney Plus movies. Like,
Hmm.
and I know they do it all the time, but I mean for their big franchises like
Hmm.
Star Wars and Marvel, and we're gonna talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I
Hmm.
think they need to start exploring that realm, because when you say Disney Plus special, I think 45 minutes. Eh, I don't want Werewolf by Night again. I want things like, hour and 20 minutes maybe.
Hmm.
You could get something decent enough out of that to where it has just enough development. But
Hmm.
they need to stop making these shows to where like they're really stretched out thin plots. And I think if they just started exploring that realm of like hour and 10-minute movies just for fun, you don't even have to make them serious. I think that could have benefited this concept a lot more. You know,
I
and if
agree.
people like it, do another one. What's the harm in that? You
Right.
know.
Right.
All right. If you guys have seen this trailer, let us know down below if you will be watching it week to week, or if Acolyte absolutely killed all hope in humanity for Star Wars. I know I'm there right now.
Mhm.
Moving on to our main topic for today, it is spoiler talk for Agatha All Along. So if you have not seen Agatha All Along in its entirety, I'm not going to make a joke that nobody has because a lot of people did watch the show, admittedly.
They
But
did.
um,
A lot of people loved it too.
if if you guys have seen this show, stick around, talk spoilers with us. Let us know down below if you liked it or not. And if you haven't and you don't want to be spoiled, all 9 episodes are streaming now on Disney Plus. Go back, binge it, come back, and hear our thoughts.
And
I'm gonna
away we go.
I'm gonna say this now and once and only once.
Mhm.
Well, two things. One, I'm not arguing with anybody in the stream comments. I'm not. I do not care about this show, and I'm not wasting my energy going back and forth with people that throw illogical comments at us. I'm not arguing with nobody. Number two, if you enjoyed this show for all 9 weeks and it fulfilled all of your needs, it changed your life, it filled that MCU hole that you've had, more power to you. I applaud you. Go watch it on repeat on Disney Plus. Go to Disney World and buy Agatha purple glittery Mickey Minnie Mouse ears and flaunt them. Be like, look at me with my merch. More power to you. I'm happy for you. I wish I could relate. Happy for you. The MCU is in a hole that if you would have told me 10 years ago we would be in, I'd be like, what are you talking about? You're out of your mind. What are you talking about? You know, there was a long period of time before the state we're in where a lot of filmmakers and creators were like, the MCU is on like repeat mode. It's just kind of the same nonsense, and everyone's eating it up, and you know this and that. And I was like, but it's not, man. It's doing so many cool things. You know, we got like Endgame and Infinity War and all this cool stuff. And then we've gotten Phase Four, which I shared my frustrations about for a while. I was like, this feels like a whole bunch of just stuff. You know, while I like a lot of the stuff, you know, WandaVision, I love. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I didn't mind. Loki is great. I like Black Widow. Uh, Multiverse of Madness is a banger. No Way Home is a banger. Shang-Chi is cool. Eternals is the unsung hero of Phase 4. Um, Love and Thunder is a cartoon, but I can sit there and watch it. You know, Wakanda Forever was a great send off. You know, the really things in Phase 4 I didn't really like were Hawkeye, which I just thought was boring. She Hulk, which had its moments. She Hulk was Phase 4, right? It was Phase 4.
Mhm.
Um, and Secret Invasion I thought was honestly garbage. Um, I like most of those projects, but the storytelling in terms of the overarching story was almost non-existent and an
Non-existent.
absolute mess. It
Yeah.
was a mess.
Mhm.
Then we get the announcement that Phase 5 will start with Quantum Mania, and it's essentially going to be viewed as like a course correction. And you know, we're getting Kang, and this is, you know, Quantum Mania is going to be the first movie that comes out. Get Quantum, we get Quantum Mania. It's not a very good movie, and Kang is the main villain. Gets folded by ants. So now we're sitting here. Well, what now? Get Guardians of the Galaxy 3 has nothing to do with any of the things going on, but you know what? It's a competent movie and a competent project. And at this realm in the MCU, I'll take a competent project over a mid and bad one. Uh, we get. Well, was there a show that came out after Guardians? I can't
Pull up my
remember.
list.
I can't remember. Because I know the Marvels came out after Guardians 3. Oh, wait, no. Echo was in January.
So we got Guardians 3, then Secret Invasion, then Loki season 2.
Secret Invasion was Phase 5? I thought that was Phase 4.
Mm-mm.
Oh, Lord. Wow. And then we had Loki season 2 before the Marvels. So yeah,
The
Secret
Marvel
Invasion sucked,
and the
and
Echo.
then the Marvels. I enjoyed the Marvels, but again, it really, other than the post credit scene, it really kind of had nothing to do with what was happening, you know. And then Echo, I like enough, but that's kind of teasing the street level stuff, or so we thought before Sony said, "Hey, no, Spider-Man 4 is going to be a multiverse movie now." Yay.
Yeah, but we still have Daredevil.
Yeah,
So
it was still Daredevil. Then we didn't have a project until Deadpool Wolverine earlier, and Deadpool Wolverine was good. But again, it's kind of like Guardians, where it doesn't really have anything to do with what was going on, But it was a competent movie. It was more than competent. It was good, but you know nothing really to do anything. So then we get the announcements that they're course correcting again, and we're getting Doctor Doom instead of Kang because Jonathan Majors wants to be a weirdo, and no more Kang the Conqueror, no more Kang's Dynasty. All that is gone, deeming the beginning of this phase absolutely worthless, which is hilarious. I kind of wish they would just make Quantumania not canon at all, to be honest.
I
Um,
agree. Trash it.
so now we're looking at next year. We're getting Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, First Steps, and then the whatever shows are coming out next year.
The Daredevil and Wonder Man and
Yeah, Daredevil and Wonder Man, and then we're looking at,
Ironheart.
and now we have this show, Agatha, which essentially came out because she was a very popular character in WandaVision, which I love. That's my favorite Marvel Disney Plus show, and it's a story that I love, and I've watched it I think 3 times through. I really like that show a lot.
Second.
I think that's the only show. No, I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier twice. That's the only show other than Falcon and Winter Soldier that I've watched it from episode 1 to the finale, all the way through. There's been several of these shows that I've gone to back and watch and didn't finish them.
Mhm.
This show essentially came out because everyone liked Agatha. We got the reveal that she was the villain, even though we all knew she was kind of the villain anyway. We got the reveal that she was the villain in WandaVision. Get that banger of a song, and we come out of that episode. Oh man, what a reveal! It was awesome. It's cool. The song is a banger. Let's go. And we end WandaVision. Wanda traps her in Westview, essentially,
Mhm.
and a lot of people were like, "Well, what are they gonna do with that?" And I myself was asking that, but I was like, wasn't losing sleep over it. I was like, she's just trapped in Westview. That's it.
Definitely wasn't asking for this.
She's trapped in Westview. That's it. I mean, not that's it, but it's like I don't care. But here we are. We get a Agatha show, greenlit. It is incredibly hard to be a fan of this franchise right now. It really is. I Let me just start. There's so much going on in my head with this show right now. Did I like this show? No, I didn't. I think this is not my least favorite Disney Plus show, which that's a revelation that when I realized that was hilarious. This is not my least favorite Disney Plus show. That award is still awarded to Secret Invasion because I thought it was miserably boring and it wasted one of the best comic book storylines on a show that was worthless. But it's not far from the bottom. I thought this show was a bad idea when it was announced. I thought it was a bad idea when I saw the trailer. And after 7 weeks, I say seven because they released 2 episodes in the beginning, 2 episodes at the end. 7 weeks altogether. After 7 weeks, the show was a horrible idea, and I don't understand why it happened. And I'm gonna try and just give my frustrations in a way to which I don't sound like a lunatic and I make sense. I thought the show had horrendous writing It's shot fine, but at this point, fine is the overall term for most of what comes out of the MCU. That's not Guardians 3 or Eternals. I'm including things like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness in there. They have that MCU look to it, unfortunately, but they do. Raimi had some camera angles. He had his, little Raimi-isms in there, but a lot of the stuff was kind of normal MCU shooting. But it's shot fine. I thought the story was awful. I thought the pacing of the episodes was atrocious. The storytelling was not there. The dialogue is some of the worst I've ever heard in my life for a superhero show. And by the end of it, I can't tell you what the purpose of it was. What did it accomplish? And I want to say I don't know who this is for, but I do know who it's for. And that's the problem. Not what am I trying to say? Not what am I trying to say?
Just say what you mentioned to me yesterday, like
I'm
about
trying I'm trying to
a
say, like,
demographic.
for the people that liked it, it's not a problem that they liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a problem that the show is kind of only. Please don't take my words. I'm trying not to
Yeah,
get in
walking up,
trouble.
my man walking on eggshells right
Yo,
now.
I'm trying not to get in trouble,
My
bro,
man
because
walking
this
on
fucking
eggshells.
fan base is more sensitive than a damn dog. Um, if you like the show, fine. It's made for a certain demographic I don't relate to. We'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't like the show. I thought it missed the mark entirely. And this is just another one of those projects that it got greenlit for why. You look at Secret Invasion, you're like, what did that accomplish? We all thought that was going to lead into the Marvels. Did it? No, at all. So it begs the question after you see the Marvels, what was the point of Secret Invasion? Mm, I don't know. That's just where I'm coming from. I will get into my grievances a little later. AJ, what were your thoughts on Agatha?
I felt a lot of the same things that you did. Um, there were some bright spots in this show for me, but not too bright. there there's some elements that I did like, and I wish they explored more. And I guess we'll get into that a little bit later. But as for now, like overall, I didn't like this show. Overall, I didn't like it. There were some episodes and some elements that were decent, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Let's dive into that. They don't. So it kind of just like negates my interests in the elements that they had. This show, man, I could not watch this show week to week. I could not do it. I had to wait till towards the end, wait until that 2 episode finale was about to come out. I binged it up until then, and then watched the 2 episode finale. Basically when it came out. So, um, the MCU, man, with these shows, I don't hate the shows in general, but I think
I hate the
how they say
formula.
they need to do a rework with the movies and things like that. They need to do a rework with the shows for sure. No, number one, they need to make sure the show is relevant to what's happening in the MCU now.
Hmm.
Make sure that they're getting as much of the fan base and audience included, because like you were saying, this show has, not saying that other people can't enjoy it, but it has a demographic that it is obviously pointing to and is for. There's so many reviews that I watch, and I'm gonna get a little, I'm not gonna go crazy, but I'm gonna say some things. There are some reviews that I looked up after I finished the show. I was reading some reviews for the finale, one of the finales, and there's something that happens in episode 8. Um, that's like Oh, lesbian kiss, 5 out of 5. Since when are we judging our shows and movies and projects off of people's sexual orientation? Does that make it a good show, or
Yeah.
does the writing?
Mm-hmm.
like like the fact that someone's sexual orientation is not mine, like, it can still be a good and competent show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging it off of that. I'm judging it off of, is it quality?
And if
Do
it's
things make
earned,
sense? Do things make sense?
yeah.
There are some things in that finale that just don't make sense. There's a lot of things in this show that I just can't understand. Like, I've, tried to figure out, and it's just like it's not making sense. Where is this writing? Like, what is going on with this writing? It's not the
Yeah.
fact that there are gay characters or other characters that I can't relate to. It's just that I just feel like the writing is a mess in a lot of different areas. The dialogue, the story, just the structure. There's just a lot of things that needed work and shouldn't have made the final cut of the show. And I don't feel like this show was destined to fail, because there are some concepts here where if they dove into it and they explored it more, it could have been kind of a banger, especially
At
the
least
horror
fun.
aspect. Yeah, especially the horror aspect.
Oh please.
And another thing is the pacing. You mentioned that, but the pacing is all over the place. There are some things happening here, and then there are some episodes where they're sitting in a room talking the entire episode. That's not interesting. That's not fun. Like, that's not a fun concept. The concept of Agatha all along, the title even comes from a song that's fun, you know? And like we joke about it, but it's like, this is a show that's a spin-off of a song, you know? And I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
we it's like they punished us for liking this character. It's like, oh, you like
That's how,
her,
that's how it feels.
take it. It's like it's like our friend John. He made the analogy that Thor: Love and Thunder is the epitome of having cheese on broccoli, where you put so much cheese on top of the broccoli that it's just cheese. It's
Hmm.
not, you can't taste the broccoli.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like WandaVision with Agatha. You get like some some cheese on there,
Hmm.
but
Nice little balance. Nice little balance.
the broccoli was WandaVision,
Hmm.
and everything else that went into that. Agatha, it's all cheese, all her. You get
Yeah.
all of her,
Maybe one little floret of broccoli on there.
and
A half of a floret.
it's like you for 9 episodes
Yeah.
is well 8, because episode like the flashback episode she wasn't really in it minus the end, but you know we some characters are just not there. Some characters are meant to be side character. There is nothing wrong. I feel like that's a term that you throw it at a character. It's like, oh well, you're deeming them lesser than the main hero. Sometimes that's just the
They
case.
definitely are.
There's nothing wrong with saying Robin is a sidekick. He's a damn good sidekick, but he's a sidekick.
Yeah. Robin doesn't need a show of his own. And if he does, he's got a group with him. Like,
It,
it's an ensemble. So,
Robin gets his shine in
yes.
Teen Titans,
Yes.
and he worked. That is one of the characters that he works leading a group as the main character. But
Yes.
being a main character on his own, I'd probably not watch. I'd be like, yo, what is this, bro? You know, um, I don't know. I just we need to stop. It was the same thing with Echo, but I think Echo worked a little bit better because it was only her and then Kingpin, and then the that the two storylines that were going on, but it was only focused on her,
There's a
and we
lot of
didn't.
there's a lot of reasons why I feel like Echo is a more superior show than this show. Number
Yeah,
one is because the writing is a lot tighter. The pacing is a lot tighter. It's not
yeah.
as much comedy forced down our throats. The
Well,
tone
Echo's
is
not really comedic, but
Echo does
I
have
know
like
what you
its
mean.
little comedy, but
Yeah,
it's subtle, you know.
dabbles.
It's right. And then all the episodes dropped at once. That was kind of nice. We were able to watch the whole show, and it was 5 episodes.
That was a
So
quick watch. What
it
was it,
was a
what,
quick
three and a
watch.
half hours?
Yeah. So, and I feel like if this show kind of, resembled a little bit of that show, it might have worked a little bit better. Who knows? But yeah, that's my little spiel on
Yeah,
comparing that to
and
Echo.
I need to preface. I myself, you guys know me. I watch these as soon as they drop. This show, I couldn't, and I didn't watch all of it week two. I think I watched the first two episodes because they dropped at the same time, and then I watched three that week. I didn't like that episode, so I was like, yo, I need a break.
Mhm.
And no, it was whatever one was it was 4 and 5. I watched back to back because I was like, yo, I'm not watching this week. I can't. And then I kept watching it week to week, every week after that, thinking, because episode 5 was my favorite episode of the show. I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be good. Oh no. Okay. I wanna start. I did kind of want to go episode by episode, but not too much.
Mhm. I get
You
that.
know, so I'll just mention what I remember from each episode
Mhm.
because each episode kind of has their own gimmick, so it makes it easier to talk about them.
Right.
So the first episode, it's a spoof on a detective thing where we don't know what's happening, and it's following Agatha doing the CSI thing. I understood what they were going for, to where it was kind of like WandaVision, where it had the different concepts of the episodes, and we didn't know what was happening. But the thing is that I feel like WandaVision just had more intrigue in it than these like Wanda and Vision. These are characters that we've spent so much time with.
Mhm.
Agatha, we're coming into this show. She's a side villain from another show, and we don't really know anything about her. And we're just being thrown into this. Versus Wanda and Vision, these characters are just coming off Infinity War and Endgame. They've been through it all, especially Wanda.
Mhm.
We knew that something was going on with her. So we
Mhm.
were immediately like, "Oh man, what's going on? This feels weird." With this, it wasn't grabbing me, and I thought some of the dialogue was horrendous. There's bad dialogue throughout all 9 episodes of this show, but man, I was watching this first one. I said, "Yo, what?" There's an interrogation scene in this episode where she catches Wiccan, Billy, whatever,
Billy. Mhm.
and she's sitting there interrogating him, and the dialogue and line delivery in this scene was so bad. I was like, yo, what am I watching? What is this, bro? It and this is my biggest issue with this whole show. The dialogue and the line delivery is so forced. It feels like an Adam Sandler comedy where it's like it's taking the joke, crumbling it up, and like it's funny, right? You think it's funny, right? And it's like, no, it's not. I don't like comedy like that, where you're trying to force me to laugh. That's not funny.
Yeah.
That's you thinking you're funny and expecting me to hopingly agree with you that it's funny. That's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
funny.
And I think another thing with this first episode is that the tones were off because
Yeah.
it is a spoof of a detective show. So it has a very serious, gritty type tone there with the story. And Agatha is here, and they kind of try to make her like the character that we knew in uh WandaVision a little bit. And it's like that doesn't fit with that episode, with what's happening. It doesn't fit. And then, like you said, with the interrogation scene, it was so bizarre to have her like have that back and forth with, I don't even remember exactly what was being said, but like I know she was doing like some
It
weird
was weird.
yeah, like I'm just like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And I'm
Yeah.
confused too. Like I don't know what's going on. Like why is she acting like this? So I think the tones did not match that. But as far as this first episode, I liked the concept. I liked what they were going for. Like you said, it was kind of like a parallel to WandaVision, where it was um, a kind of a spoof on a TV show. I wish they kind of would have dove into that a little bit more, but they
They see
really abandoned it.
See, I watched that first episode and I was like, okay, so is this gonna be the whole show where it's spoofing a show? Like, I would have loved that,
I
you
would have
know,
dug that.
because that's like my favorite thing about WandaVision is when it kept doing it up to a certain point.
Hmm.
Well, it was actually most of the show,
It was most of
but
the show.
I loved
So eight.
that. Like,
Hmm.
you had spoofs of like the old shows, and then you had like the Modern Family slash Office episode. Like, I love
Hmm.
stuff like that, and I was like, okay, that could be kind of cool, but no, they throw it away in one episode. I was like, oh,
Like I feel like it's like half the episode. Like it doesn't even go through the whole episode, right? It
oh
doesn't
yeah,
even go
no,
through the whole
because
episode. It goes like
yeah,
because she meets Billy, and
hmm
then
she
that's
meets up
like
with Rio in the morgue, and then
she meets up with Rio in the morgue, and then Rio shows up at her house, and then she gets naked and goes around the whole neighborhood, and they're like, get some pants on, and like just like this tone is not
I
meshing
don't.
well together at all.
I that scene where she's walking around Nate. I don't understand. I was sitting there like, yo, what are we doing? What
It's a
are
lot of
we doing?
a lot of instances I felt that way throughout the show. That was
So
definitely one.
that first episode ends, and I is that the one where she fought Rio in the house, or
Hmm.
is that how the second
No,
one
that
started?
no, that happens at the end of the first episode.
Yeah. Okay.
And the
So
whole second episode, she's trying to find her coven.
yeah. So the second episode, she has Billy locked in the closet, and she asks him for his name, and he speaks, and it's like warbled. So if
Yeah,
you
they
guys
did
have
the Kill
seen
Bill.
Kill Bill, if you
Yeah,
guys
they
have
did.
seen Kill Bill, when she says her name and it bleeps out, which when they did that, I was like, gee, I wonder who he is. That she
Mm,
reacts the way that she did.
mm.
It's like, of course, that's who it was.
I was so
Oh my
confused though
God, it's
because I was right. I
Billy.
was thinking that it was Billy because it was talked about, but then I'm like, how much far in the future is this? This is a whole different actor, and like he's older, like he's a lot
Yeah.
older than Billy is, and even Multiverse of Madness. So I'm like, what's going on here? I was confused, and by the end of the show, I was still confused.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
So like that whole episode, she's recruiting all the different witches for the coven, and the only returning character we get for from WandaVision is Mrs. Foreman. That I need to learn this woman's name. I'm tired of calling her Mrs. Foreman. She's so charming. I need to stop calling her Mrs. Foreman. Deborah Jo Rupp. Deborah Jo Rupp, who I love, and then AJ pointed out to me, well, she's not that good in the show, but you like her because she's Mrs. Foreman. That's exactly why I like her that much. She talks and I hear her Mrs. Foreman voice, and she's funny to me. Is she really that funny in the show? No, but she's delivering it, and I'm just kind of imagining Mrs. Foreman saying these things at points, and it's funny. You know,
Mhm.
Listen, I had to do something to keep myself entertained during this show. Okay. Um, so she's going around getting all these witches, and I really wish they would have just taken their time with this versus, oh, I need you. 2-minute dialogue. All right, come on. I need you. 3-minute dialogue. All right, come on, let's go.
And they never explain why these people are helping her. They
Oh.
and because Agatha
They all
is
have
a
grudges with her.
right. Agatha is a known, antagonist around the witch community. So
Yeah.
why are you helping her? Why do you want
Especially
to help
with what
her?
we find out towards the end.
Right.
I don't know.
That's just
But
like, okay, we got a team now. Like,
yeah, they're all
okay,
like, we don't like you, but we'll help you cuz the script says so.
just cause
Um so they all show up at the house, and we get the what are they called? The Salem 7? Is that
Salem
what they're called?
7. Yes. What could have
What
been such a cool concept.
they
Could have been so
This
cool.
was so cool. Yeah. They show up, in this sequence, and they're like breaking down the houses and shit. I was like, this is cool. Never
Mhm.
show up again. I don't think so.
They
Anyway,
do, but it's like they die off screen or something like that.
I definitely don't remember that.
Hmm.
Um, but they do the witches song, which get ready to hear that a lot.
50 times throughout this whole show.
Which it kind of makes me feel like a schmuck that that when I heard the first time, I was like, that was a cool moment. I liked that. Then we heard it six more times. I was like, yo, shut up. um, so they do the Witches Road ritual. They get onto the Witches Road, and that's where it leads off into episode 3. So episode 3 was the one with the house, right? Which where they were like the white people house, and I didn't really like this episode. I found it very boring. I was like, oh my god, what are we doing here? You know, they keep teasing like the characters are in peril. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. Why do I care that they're in peril? And this is my issue with the fucking show. They introduce all these characters so quick with the bare minimum of development, and then you ask me to care about them. That's not how it works. You can't do that.
Hmm.
You can't introduce what seven. I'm trying to look at the stupid thing. One, two, three, four, five, six characters. Six fucking characters, and expect me to care about any of them. And that was my biggest issue with the whole show. We're going through the show and they're dropping like flies. I'm like, I don't care. I saw
Hmm.
so many people saying, oh man, when this character died, it really messed me up. I was like, I wish I could relate. When they
Hmm.
died, I didn't care. I was like, oh, another one died. Episode 7, the one that everyone likes. I didn't like it because I have no idea who this fucking lady is.
Hmm.
So she's doing this big heroic sacrifice. I'm like, I mean, good for you, man. You went out like a hero. You know, like
Yeah, yeah, I get that, and I get what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from because I do feel part of that as well. They pulled the whole Saving Private Ryan route. Saving Private Ryan start if you haven't seen it, it starts off they're
mhm,
right in the middle
D-Day.
of they're right in the middle of the war, and we have all these characters. We don't know any of them, but they kind of know each other. We're following them, and there's a journey there, and we get to know more about them throughout the journey, and by the end we're like they're close knit, we know them, we feel for them, and we feel their connection. I feel like that was the attempt here, but there's so little intrigue with these characters, which that's a problem. And also how they started in episode 2 with just going around recruiting for like 5 seconds, and like, come on, we don't know why these people are helping her, we don't know what the end goal is, what we're doing here, what are we doing here. So when we get to episode 3 and they're just in the house and they're talking and they're kind of just doing nothing. They're really doing nothing a lot throughout this episode. We don't know how, why they're in this house. Like, we know that it's like a trial, a witch trial, but we don't really know what's really happening. Towards the end of the episode is where I started getting a little bit more intrigued because they start seeing things, they start having hallucinations of their past, they start, seeing like different crazy things and visions and stuff like that. Okay, that's what I kind of want to see more of. They abandon that as like that happens at the end of the episode, and they never bring that back. Like,
That's the one where
that's what I'm interested in.
that's the one where Mrs. Foreman dies, right?
Yeah, she dies at the end of the episode, like
Which I found
after they get
hilarious
out
because
of that house.
yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, oh, she was the best part of the episodes. What happens at the end of episode 3? She dies. I said, come on, man. The one thing that was keeping me interested, now she's gone.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. And then they have the whole thing where they drank the potion and their face went crazy, like puffy and crazy, and I'm just like, it kind of looks funny, but what is happening? Like, I don't know what are we doing. So that was another instance of what are we doing? Like, And by the end of this episode, I didn't really feel that much closer to any of these characters. Like I said, there was the end of the episode where they're seeing the visions. That's kind of intriguing to me. Let's see how that plays out. Let's see what these visions truly mean. It turns out that some of them kind of come back up, some of them don't really, and I just wish it would have dove into that. But like the first episode, there's a concept that I like, an element that I like that they abandoned.
Mm. Luke, what's
So I
going on,
guess
man?
Luke. So we get into episode 4 after Miss Foreman dies, and Rio comes to on the scene again, and I don't really know what she's doing there.
Well, she obviously she had ulterior motives, but what had
Yes,
happened was is that Mrs. Foreman was the Earth Witch. She was the Earth Witch, right? Or something like
I don't.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
It was something having to do with because she gardens, so she was like
Okay.
the Earth Witch, and then she
Okay.
dies, and they're like, oh well, we need another Earth Witch to do the stuff, and
So
then
that's what
Rio pops
Rio
out of the
pops
ground.
out of nowhere.
Literally, she pops out of the ground because
It's like,
it's a death joke because of what they reveal. Which,
mhm,
looking back at, that's kind of funny that she pops out of the ground.
mhm.
But she's like, "Oh, well, I'll be the Earth Witch or whatever," and they're like, "Okay, I guess."
I
And
guess come
Agatha's
on,
annoyed.
come on, Vomito.
Agatha's annoyed because they have a past. Aubrey Plaza, bro. You have Aubrey Plaza in the show. I hesitate to say she's a character actor, but she's a very kooky actor to where she could turn it up instantly and have fun. If you guys have not seen Ingrid Goes West, one of my favorite movies, please go watch it. That is the epitome of her turned to like 11. She's so good in that movie.
Funnily enough, we got Elizabeth Olsen in that movie too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but she's an actress that is so capable of anything. And what do we have her doing in this episode? You can kind of tell that she's supposed to be kind of over the top. And what do? Have her in this episode, not really doing much, and then she's gone until episode 8. From what I can remember, episode 8.
There is a sequence that happens in this episode that intrigued me as well. So they're sitting around a campfire, they're talking about their scars, and she says that I hurt somebody, and I regret it, and she is my scar, referring to Agatha and their past relationship. I'm like, this is interesting. Okay, what happened with them in the past? We don't get any of that. We don't get that until, well, we still don't get it, but we get a little bit of their past in the finale, like episode 9, but we don't dive into that. Like, this is another thing that they kind of abandoned.
I didn't really care for this episode that much. It had a vibe that I liked, but it didn't really do much for me. I
Yeah,
was like,
they had the rock band
yeah.
episode. That was
Which
kind of cool.
I was excited to hear Witch's Road in a rock version or something, and then it's just the same style, same rendition. I'm like, you guys can't even have fun with that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, we did get that. I don't even really know exactly what it was, but it was like a winged demon, evil spirit thing that they killed with the power of rock. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But they never really explained how. Like, I guess one of the witches, what's her name? The one witch. She was like the protection witch.
Yeah, you asking the wrong person for
Let's see.
names of for these characters, bro.
Alice. Alice was the protection witch, and she I mean, she kind of led that whole thing, and her mom was like a rock star and stuff like that. I liked the idea of that. I liked, that she was that in that position. Did we dive into it?
Nope.
Not really. No. We talked about it a couple times. I think we showed a little bit of a flashback. Um, where okay, so we saw like when they were in that house in episode 3. That was one of the visions that she saw. She saw her mom, And she was like, I couldn't protect you, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm kind of we're kind of getting somewhere with that, and we didn't get anywhere with that. So yeah,
The next episode, this is still my favorite episode of the show. This
I
is the
understand why.
only, and I mean the only episode of this show where I sat there on my phone watching it and didn't hate myself and wasn't bored and was actually, oh my god, wow, for the runtime of it. This is the only episode where I was invested in the slightest of what was happening. We get this trial where they're at a slumber party, essentially a 80s slumber party, and the Ouija board is kind of revealing things. They do a Ouija board, and all of a sudden all this crazy shit starts happening. It's like literally like multiverse of madness, where like all this scary crazy shit starts happening. And I was like, where on earth has this been for 4 episodes? And where was it for the episodes that preceded it? I don't understand. This is what the whole show should have been, where it had these horror vibes and it was fun. I
I
don't
agree. I agree with that.
understand.
I agree with
I
that.
like in terms of it progressing the show, it didn't really. But I mean, shit, I will take what I can get, bro. This was the only episode that I liked because it was fun. It had the spooky vibes, and it was cool. Like it was just it had a cool concept and it was fun. And I even liked the ending where they revealed that Billy was Wiccan. Even though we all knew the needle drop was cringe as all fuck. But I mean, you know, it was still a fun episode. This is the only episode from this show that I can tell you pretty much everything that happened from it. The only one, really. After that, and then I watched the next one out of like morbid curiosity, like, oh man, maybe they're finally gonna get on track. Nope.
Yeah.
What? Because I know you didn't feel the same way. So what did you think about that
But
episode?
I kind of liked this episode. Don't get me wrong. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
liked it, but it was not my favorite. It had the spooky vibes, had the creepy vibes, had Agatha getting possessed. I still don't really know exactly how and why that was happening, but it was fun. It was cool. Interesting, and kind of kept my interest. But I'm just like, I had a lot of questions after watching it, especially with the Billy reveal. I'm like, how is this Billy? Um, like
Good question.
why is yeah, it's still a question, but like that's the episode it was revealed in, and I'm just like, okay. And then just the story was kind of going somewhere, and this episode halted pretty much all of it. They kind of dealt with something from Agatha's past that just didn't really, in the grand scheme of things, matter. That's why I was just not as big on this episode. But the next episode, I feel like I gave around the same score, but I, I was mildly intrigued with this episode, but it did have the fun and spooky elements.
Yeah. So episode 6 is the guaranteed flashback episode in the Disney Plus show, because we gotta have a flashback episode. We can't explain things naturally. We need an entire 40 minutes to explain where a character comes from and what their history is, right? Um,
In this
so we
case, I kind of needed that, and I honestly needed more. But in this case, I'm so confused by how
yeah.
Billy is Wiccan and he's this person, and I, I don't know.
So
They still didn't explain it.
Billy, so I forgot what his original name was, but I'm just gonna call him for the sake Billy for the sake of calling him Billy. So Billy is a normal kid
Teen.
outside of Westview, and which that kind of got annoying. Them calling him Teen, I was like, I get why you're calling him Teen, but
Teen.
whatever. So he's like a normal kid that lives outside of Westview, and his parents get into a car crash, and he wakes up with
William.
them. William.
William was his
So William, they get into a car crash, and William gets amnesia,
name.
and so they flash forward ahead, and I don't remember why he was. Do you remember why he was looking for answers from like Westview? Because he was
because he
seeking
was looking
out.
for Tommy. He was looking for Tommy.
So he had kept hearing Tommy, right? Was that what it was?
I don't know if he was hearing him, but he remembered him. So I guess when Westview was like getting destroyed at the end of WandaVision,
Yeah.
and the hex was like
Mm-hmm.
lowering, and like at the last minute, Billy was able to. This is my the only this.
Yeah.
This is just my interpretation because this is not explained. Billy, as the hex was like getting imploded or going away, he somehow transferred his consciousness outside the hex, and it inhabited somebody who was unconscious. And there was a car crash, and William just so happened to be the next person that was going unconscious, and he was able to put his consciousness into William. So inadvertently, William is Billy.
Yeah.
I That's my interpretation of everything that
I mean,
happened.
it makes more sense than it did to me 30 seconds ago. So that's why he's seeking out answers from what happened in Westview and all that, and he's dragging his
Mhm.
boyfriend along. And we
But
get our
is it William's boyfriend? Is it Billy's boyfriend?
well, I guess it's Billy's because that happens after they flash ahead.
I know. It's just look, how long was it? How long was the distance of time? Did it
I
say
don't
like
remember.
3 years,
It
5 years?
probably said it, but I don't remember. I
Yeah.
know they definitely flash forward.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so he's looking for answers, and we get a visit from our good old buddy Ralph Boner, baby.
What was
Ralph.
his tag? His boner fide 69. What? Oh my gosh, bro.
Yo, it's like Kevin Feige saw. It's like Kevin Feige is getting back at Fox for making Quicksilver before Age of Ultron had come out, and everyone had said that Quicksilver it was better in the Fox movies than he was in Age of Ultron. So he's like, he probably wrote it in the script for Evan Peters. Yeah, you're gonna
Mhm.
come back as Pietro, like you're gonna be Quicksilver. And then he didn't show him the notes
The
for the
rest.
finale and this. And he's like, I'm sorry, my name is what now? And my role is what now?
He said, "I'm going to act my butt off though in both roles,"
I'm
and
gonna
he
put
did.
some dirt in your eye. That's what I'm gonna do.
He definitely did. Man, he was acting
I
like the
didn't
rent was due.
even I didn't even realize it was fucking him. I was like, oh. I was like, because he said his name, and I was like, is that Evan
Is that
Peters?
really Evan Peters? He had a
I was,
beard and he looked like a
yeah.
hobo.
I was like, oh, I guess. It's like, hey, like I had no reaction to this. It kind of breaks my heart that I had no reaction to it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, okay, I guess they
Oh,
got him
I had a
back.
reaction all right, and I texted the chat
Yeah.
exactly what I felt.
Oh well, no, I feel the same way, but at this point, I'm just numb to this show's bad writing and dialogue. So, but yeah, this was garbage. You know, they have him continuing to be Ralph Boner. It's like the joke. Did you not hear everybody when the finale of WandaVision came out and they said they didn't like that? Like, I don't understand.
So we're
And
gonna
these are
show
the
them.
same writers. These are the same writers from WandaVision. So clearly nobody listened.
So we're gonna show
Whatever.
them.
They get this flashback stuff out of the way. I don't remember what happens, nor do I care, because I only had really remembered the ending of the episode where him and Wanda had I wish him and Agatha had that conversation and they're like, we'll put our differences aside and do what we gotta do. Which I was like, okay, but it kind of makes the whole thing of what he did in the episode before, putting her in the hole, make it's irrelevant. And this is my problem with the show is that the ideologies of these characters sometimes make no fucking sense because you take Billy, there's times where he's fine with Agatha, whatever, and then the next second he's like, "No, screw you! You were trying to kill me and my mom. No, get out of here." And then it'll just go back and forth the whole show. Agatha, you have her where she's doing things for her own intentions, but then she'll realize that she made a mistake. So then she'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, whatever." But then she's another. She'll go back and forth, and it makes it to the point where I can't get invested in the character if they don't know what their motives are. I can't.
Mhm.
I can't side with that. As evil as Thanos is, I can get invested in his character because he knows what he's doing.
He's standing 10 toes down in what
Yeah.
he's doing. That's
The
wild.
same thing with Wanda in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
Wanda is doing these insane things, but I can side with her because she has the same intention throughout the whole movie until the very end when she realizes what she's doing is wrong.
yeah,
That's how you do that.
and that's an
You know,
arc. That's what
you know
that's what an arc is
that
called.
yeah, that's the thing. These characters don't have arcs because they go back and forth so much. It's like I don't know what your purpose is anymore. Like I just don't. Episode
I agree.
episode 7, the
Yeah,
the big almighty episode 7 that everyone loved, that I was actually kind of excited to watch because everyone's like, "Oh, it's so good." It's like, okay, watched it. I was like,
oh,
you the whole thing with the witch trial, I feel like that concept got old in this show very quick
I did.
because they did nothing with it. They like the one thing they did do is that everyone was different, sure.
Hmm.
Everyone had a gimmick towards it, but ultimately they just all felt the same way to where like they're in peril, they might die, they may not die. Oh, they got out of it. Okay. Oh no, somebody died by accident. Oh well. That's kind of how every trial went. So when we're at episode 7, it's like I don't care about any of this because all the trials have been the same. You know, we get this trial where they're dressed up as Wicked Witch of the West, and Billy's dressed as Maleficent. Uh, the old lady's dressed up as
Lilia.
Lilia. She's dressed up as the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, I don't get what the gimmick is either. Because you have two characters from Wizard of Oz and then Sleeping Beauty. What's the gimmick? I don't get that.
Who was Jennifer? Jennifer was somebody with a hood. I can't remember, but
I
anyway,
don't know. I didn't get that. And
like
then you got
witches from
this maybe,
different things. I
but
guess I don't know.
Maleficent's not a witch.
She
She
is. She's a witch. She casts spells and stuff.
well, I guess she's not a traditional witch.
Yeah,
I mean, not every witch could turn into a fucking dragon.
that's true.
That's why she's the best one.
She's good witch.
um, so we get this trial where they're doing like these fucking tarot card things, and this kind of I can't believe I remember this, but this reminds me of when you had watched Casino Royale for the first time, and you said I couldn't really get invested into it because I didn't understand like how poker works or
Hmm.
whatever they were
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Where I love Casino Royale because of those scenes. You were just telling me, yeah, I couldn't really get invested. So I had no idea what was going on.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I felt with this, to where
Hmm.
they're doing all these tarot things and they keep saying, "Oh my god, it doesn't work." I'm like, well, why doesn't it work? I don't know. I don't get what's happening.
What's going on?
Yeah, like I didn't really get why it wasn't working, other than you telling me it's not working.
Right.
You know, so it kind of made it hard to get invested in it. And then we got this line of dialogue that was Oscar worthy for all the wrong reasons, and it was so bad I shut off the episode and didn't go back to it until the next day. They're doing this tarot thing, and Lillian asks Billy like, they ask in general like, "Oh, who's the querent?" Which I don't know what that means in terms of tarot, so I don't know. I guess that's a tarot term. I don't fucking know. And Billy turns around and goes, "Oh, who's the querent? I don't know. I guess I'm the querent."
I literally seen reviews where they would quote that line. They said automatic 5 out of 5 for that line.
And for those who are about to say I exaggerated the way I just said that, that is literally how he fucking says it. He literally goes querent like that. and Agatha's like,
Yeah, she literally does it like that too.
I was like, oh my
Might as well had a boom at the end.
god. I understand you want to cater to an audience, but there is a right and a wrong way to do it. When you do it so on the nose like that, it is so painfully forced and not interesting or funny. It's just you saying, hey, he's gay. Get it? It's like, yeah, I've
How
known
and
that
also
already.
how is that funny?
It's not funny. Like, yeah, it's wordplay, sure, but it's not funny. I don't. Oh my god. I don't.
Anyway,
That line was.
before we get in any trouble, let's let's move on.
But then they did this thing where like the episode is essentially out of order. They kept showing things that was the other thing I didn't like. I'm sure
I
people
love
probably
that.
liked it. Like
Yeah.
I I like the idea of it, but I
Hmm.
feel like you could have did it in a way to where, at least for me, I couldn't really follow it
Hmm.
because like they would have a scene, it'd go on for like 5 minutes, and then it'd be like, oh, switch, no, this is from another like point in time. So it kind of be throwing me off, and it was to the point where I was like, I kind of give up trying to get invested in it if you're just gonna keep switching it all the time. I feel like it
Hmm.
would have been better if they were like, oh yeah, this is like the end of the episode, oh switch, no, now it's the beginning, and then I could be like, oh, okay, so this happens, and that's how that goes together, you
Hmm.
know. That was just a me thing,
That's
and
crazy because
then
that's exactly how I felt. I felt like okay, that's that part of the episode. That's part of that episode. The episode
but like,
because they also integrated different episodes of the show that came before it too.
yeah, it was just I wish they didn't do it as often because I feel like they did it like at least like 5 different times, and I was like,
I get it.
well, I don't know what to follow anymore. So then Lillian ends up dying. Her moment was okay. I feel like if I was invested more, I would have liked it. You know,
Hmm.
it is ultimately one of the better moments of the show. I will say, of the character deaths, that's probably the one I liked the most because it actually felt like the show was trying to make you care enough about it, and so that's why I kind of liked that. Um,
Because I feel like Alice died in that episode 5 like so abruptly
yeah,
and like okay she's dead.
yeah,
It's kind of like how they did with
Mrs. Foreman,
Miss
she was the
Foreman's
same way.
character. Yeah.
Um, so I don't remember how episode 7 ended. I think they just like
Yeah,
broke
so she
away.
basically sacrifices herself, closes the door,
Yeah.
and I guess that's when the Salem 7 actually die. But we don't see it actually happen
Oh yeah, because
because
they went into the room.
they're
Yeah.
after they're after them. Well, really after Agatha, but Lilia sacrificed herself, and then you get that sequence of her falling, and
Hmm.
like I don't know that. I, to be kind of quick with this, my thoughts on episode 7. This is hands down my favorite episode, mainly because it kind of progresses the story. It gives some more character depth to some of the characters. I really, really like the structure of the episode. And then, kind of by the end of the episode, it's explained that that's how she lives her life. Her entire life is broken up into segments and it's out of order, which is
Hmm.
like, I'm just like, wow. And that's why she's like, throughout the show before this point, this character would just like blurt out weird random stuff and we're like why is she doing that. This makes it all make sense, and then they kind of put it in order why she was doing that. She was trying to warn them that the Salem 7 was coming. That was so cool to me. Just I love things that happen and then you have to go back and look at different things from a different perspective. I love that in storytelling, so that really stuck with me. And then Lilia was one of my, I guess I want to say, kind of favorite characters so far. I didn't really have that much invested in these characters at this point, but she was probably the one character that I was kind of the most invested in, especially because of that explanation. and then the way the episode ended was like kind of showing her like back in the like way back in the day in Sicily, talking to this woman and kind of like explaining that that's what's going to be happening to you and that's how your death is going to, happen, and it happens and it cuts to black. I dug that. that was like, it actually felt like an actual show to me when
Yeah.
that happened. But that's just me.
No,
And
I
the
mean,
episode wasn't perfect. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 because there were a lot of sequences that were just like, I don't really care about this. There was when Jin and Lilia were like crawling down in the this like I don't know if I wasn't sewer, but it was like some tunnel or
mhm.
something. I was not very invested. So the episode wasn't perfect, but I did like the overall concept of the episode.
Yeah, so then we get part one of the two-part finale, episode 8.
Hmm.
Um so you got, before we get into the Rio stuff, oh yeah. Episode 7, Rio reveals herself to be Death. That, she does her little fucking Suicide Squad enchantress hula hoop shit, and um and I was like, okay, if you follow things on Twitter, you would have known who she was for 5 weeks. Um, but we get episode 8, and you got to remind me what happened to the other witches because I don't remember.
The other witches. Who was left? I think it was just Jin and Billy, right? Jin, Billy. Yeah, because Alice had died, and then Lilia died.
So
So
what
it was just,
happens to Jen? I forgot.
yeah, that was when they woke up in this weird place where they were like laying in body bags, and
Yeah,
then yeah, and like the drawer came out where they were laying in, and then like there were like some exchange of energy or something, and Jen kept saying like, you are nothing, or you um or something, I can't remember, but she kept saying it. It was like a repeat of what she was saying. And you were actually saying that you like this part with
yeah.
Jen.
I thought the acting in this scene was actually kind of okay
Hmm.
from Jen for anyway. I liked her a good bit. She actually didn't annoy me that much. She did. This says very little, but she was probably my favorite of the Witches Coven. I don't remember her getting me annoyed a little too much in the show. You know,
Hmm.
but yeah, I liked this. I thought this was okay, and this was a pretty good ending for her character. You know,
I agree, and I feel like we might see her again.
maybe. So we get our big climactic Disney Plus CGI final battle. Final battle. I was actually intrigued with what was going to happen because I was like, okay, we got our villain. I'm assuming we're gonna get powers back. All right, cool. So, uh, Wiccan shows up full costume, which I like it. I don't mind it. It's definitely an MCUified version of his
Yes,
costume.
that's true.
I wish it was more like the Doctor Strange costume because that's how Wiccan's costume is in the comics. It has
Hmm.
like a lot going on. I wish that's how his costume was, where it's like Doctor Strange, where he's got the little ribbons and stuff all over his costume.
Hmm.
Um, even like the Multiverse of Madness costume, it's different, and something like that. But I
Hmm.
don't mind it. I saw a lot of people saying they don't like it. I was like, we've seen worse costumes in the MCU. This is fine.
What's kind of interesting is I saw behind the scene. I sent it to you. Um, the cape for Billy's costume had like imprints of Vision's design, which was kind of cool.
Did you
Um,
send that? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think that was part of it because they also showed Agatha's wardrobe as well. The inside of it was like ravens on the top, and then like as they descended down it
Yeah,
was runes, and
yeah.
that's a cool touch, but like we would have never known that. Like it was
Well,
never
that's what
really
happens when you shoot
shown.
this shit at night and have no lights on set.
It's just like,
Um,
okay.
because you want to hide how bad the CGI may or may not be. You know. Um, but essentially Wiccan comes in, and I think he gives her power.
Yeah.
He gives Agatha power, and she
Hmm.
shows up full costume, the
Yeah.
same costume from Agatha, WandaVision. No new costume. We couldn't bear the effort to give her a new costume. Um, and
It doesn't look bad though.
no,
It's
but
not bad,
essentially, her and Rio just kind of tussle. I guess, I guess that they don't fight. They don't have like a Harry Potter style duel where they shoot their witchy powers and they're like nothing, nothing.
bro. Agatha Harkness versus Death should have been a raw fight, bro. That
Speaking
should
of
have been
death, I
that
forgot
should have
about that.
been raw.
They went to the ends of the earth to give Death this amazing look in
Hmm.
terms of makeup
Hmm.
that we've seen plastered all over social media, and it looks amazing.
Hmm. It's like half skull, half
Yeah, it's
her face.
sick. Do we get any of that in this finale? No, you don't see it at all. You don't see it. What did that makeup artist do that for, bro?
Yeah. It's not
I
even
feel
that.
bad.
It's not even that you can't see it. It's that she just shows up regular face.
Yeah,
She just shows up like it never happened. Like you just revealed yourself like this, like an episode ago for 5 seconds. Where is this in the finale? This looks raw.
I don't.
Mm, I don't know.
Do you want to share the details on how this all ends? Because I don't know.
Why you put that on me?
Only
But
because I
anyway,
asked the
yeah, I
question.
guess we could just kind of breeze through it. Like, so apparently there was just like a small tussle, like you said, and it was kind of like in a backyard or something, or a front yard in
It was
Westview,
Agatha. It was Agatha's house,
Agatha's
the
house in
backyard.
Westview. Yeah, whatever. It didn't. It wasn't like some epic background. It wasn't like anything impressive. And then they get closer to each other, and I'm like, what's about to happen? And they kiss.
No, 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 no. She grabs her and says, "Come here," and
Yeah.
and
And they kiss, and I'm like, okay, like, were y'all just are y'all not mad at each other anymore? Like, y'all are cool now? Like, I don't. And then like Rio, I don't really know exactly what happened, but somebody like disintegrates into the ground, and it's really dark out, and then is it Rio or Agatha that goes into the ground?
I think it's Rio.
I think, yeah. So Rio like goes into the ground and like kind of sinks into the ground, and then like daisies and like butterflies and stuff come out of the ground, and it starts becoming daytime, and the sun comes out, and happy day. So that's that's what I saw. That's basically what
We
happened.
we we forgot something because Agatha ends up dying too. I
Yeah,
don't
she
know
dies
how.
too. Yeah, she dies too. So both
I
of
don't
them
remember how.
die from this
Or
somehow.
maybe they both died by
I
doing
think they
this.
both die somehow,
Maybe.
but I just remember like somebody disintegrating into the
Yeah,
ground,
I remember that.
and then like flowers start coming up, and then the sun comes out, and Billy's just standing there like,
Cool.
I'm just like, okay.
Then he goes into his room
Yeah, he
and
goes back home. Williams home,
yeah.
and his parents are like, "Oh, where are you? You've been gone for 24 hours." Terrible parents, but anyway,
Oh,
he goes
horrible.
back into his room, and he looks around, and he's looking at posters, and he's looking at little knickknacks he has in there, and he's like, "Oh, oh, did I make the witch's road?
Did I do
Did
that?
I do that?" And then you hear somebody cackling in the background, and then it cuts to the credits. Like, okay,
Which, if this was the ending of the show, I think that the episode still wasn't very good. But I like if that was like the stinger they had left off on. I feel like I would have been like I would have kind of felt the same way. I would have been like, okay, so what is this leading to?
yeah,
But then
exactly.
we get episode 9. It's like so episode 9 we get a flashback showing Agatha. essentially taking all the witch's powers and doing showing how many times she tried going through the witch's road, which I like this. I thought this was neat. I thought this was cool. And for the only time in this fucking show, Catherine Hahn was acting like a human being
Yeah,
and not so over the top.
because they do reveal that she gives birth, and Rio comes up, and by that time they had already had kind of a past, so they knew each other. But she's having this baby out in the forest, and Rio comes to take him away, probably because of some deal that she made, in the past. And she's like, "No, I'll, bring you a coven. I'll, give you what you want. Don't take my baby." And she's like, "This is not stopping this, but it's just pressing pause. Like,
Delaying
he's coming. Yeah, I'm coming for this your son eventually. You're just buying a little bit of time." Which I was like, "Oh, that's kind of creepy. That's weird." And like her whole get up too, I really liked. I liked Rio's like whole thing because it was different than before. And like we see him, the kid grow up a little bit, and and like this sequence I feel like was a little drawn out, but I did like what I saw, like,
should have
because I
happened
like the time.
sooner.
It should have happened sooner, but
My
I do
issue.
feel like it honestly it could have been like interwoven into the episodes, but
That too.
but anyway,
I
it
would
was
have
just
taken a whole flashback episode with this. Truth be told,
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. But also, like, so I don't really remember what happened to the kid. I know that he woke up, saw Rio, and she said, "Come here," and he walked with her into the darkness. But I don't really know what else happened.
well, I would assume.
Yeah, but like I feel like they didn't really like address that
I mean,
much
that would
unless I
explain why
unless
Agatha
I was
doesn't
checked
like
out.
her.
I mean, yeah, like, and that would explain why Rio was like, "I hurt somebody that I cared about in the past, and uh, she is my scar."
I guess.
But I
But
mean, they kind of like abandon that in like 2.5 seconds when they go back to Billy and show Agatha as a ghost. It
I didn't think that looked good at all. Truth be
didn't.
told,
It looked
it
bad,
looked
kind of.
weird. It looked really weird. It looked like we just watched it, but it looked like spoiler alert for the Goosebumps movie. But it looks like the ending of the Goosebumps movie when they reveal that that girl is a ghost.
Hmm.
That's what that looked like.
Yeah,
It
kind of remind me of Casper a little bit.
yes, it reminded a 2024 Marvel project reminded us of a 1990s Casper film.
Yes, yes, essentially.
Um, it didn't look good. Number one, I don't understand what this finale was trying to accomplish because it threw in a flashback that should have been revealed 6 episodes before,
Hmm.
and the rest of it was what
Lead up.
revealing that she's a ghost,
It was kind
and
of like an
then
epilogue, and like kind of paying homage to the fallen witches that we didn't really have that much invested
yeah,
in the first place, and then a lead up to what's to come.
you could have
Y-
honestly just had this be a post credit scene. You could have had it be that he's in the room sitting there or whatever, doing whatever, and then she pops up as a ghost. And she would be like, "Oh, you thought you got rid of me," and do her stupid laugh. Boom, cut to black.
Yeah, but they had to lead into whatever is next.
But I'm like,
Them
what did
trying to
they do
find
though?
Tommy. He's like, "I gotta find Tommy," and she's like, "Let's go,
And this and
next
this
adventure."
and this goes into my biggest issue. Who in their right mind cares about this? Who is losing sleep not knowing the fates of Wiccan and Speed, Billy and Tommy? Who cares about this?
People out there, I guess.
Listen, if there are comic readers watching this and you know of any knowledge of Wiccan and Speed tying into Secret Wars or Doctor Doom of any case, let me know personally. You can DM me and let me know because I need to understand why the fuck I'm going to assume it's a season 2. I'm going to just assume it's a season 2. Why the fuck do we need 2 seasons of a television show for 2 characters I don't, well, 3, Agatha and then these 2 idiots. 3 characters I don't care about. You're wasting so much time, so much resources, and so much money on characters that matter this much in the grand scheme of all these characters.
Mhm.
We could be getting, because more than likely, I think he's gonna show up. We could be getting a Ghost Rider TV show or a special. We could be getting something like that, but no, we got to
Yeah.
put our money and resources into Agatha all along. I don't get it. I
Yeah,
don't get it.
I agree.
Like, what did this show accomplish? What did this show accomplish? Legitimately, I don't know the answer to that question.
It
Oh, it brought
accomplished
in
something
religion,
to it accomplished some things for some people. I'll say that. Representation is a huge word that
bro. But we've had
gets thrown.
representation in the MCU already. I feel like we're so far beyond the point of representation. We have all kinds of representation in the MCU. Black Panther made $1 billion. And then if you don't look at that kind of representation, you look at America Chavez and what she represents. There's a reason that everyone was so all up in arms about her character in Multiverse of Madness. The weirdos. But just look at that representation. Look at Loki. 3 different types of representation. And there's more I didn't say. You
Mhm.
got Captain Marvel and Valkyrie in the Marvels. Look at that. That wasn't direct, but I mean, come on now. We all know what side of the road Captain Marvel lands on at this point. Come on. You know, why do you need to why do we need to drive that representation down people's fucking throats, bro? This is the problem. I'm
And it's
okay
not.
with representation. That's not the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
I champion representation. I love that. Good for you. But don't make it to the point where it's you
The
you're
the whole
it's
project is riding on that.
and you're taking it you're putting it in the spotlight and it's taken away from everything else that should be in the spotlight with it. That's the
I agree.
problem.
I agree.
And
There's
it,
an
when
imbalance.
when you do things like that, it's to the point where I'm not invested in everything else. And I'm not invested in what you're trying to shove down my throat either. So I'm not invested in any of it.
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, this show was a waste of 7 weeks of my life, and it's another Disney Plus show dud.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I
You
feel like
know,
this was the one that was like not to really be taken seriously because it's kind of a spinoff of a show that but
and I tried not to, but the thing is, even the show on its own basis, it's not interesting. And that's
yeah.
the issue. If it was interesting, like something like Moon Knight, I wasn't really sitting there like, what is this going to tie into? Moon Knight, I was just like, this is a really cool show, and it's doing
Hmm.
like really cool concepts. If it
Hmm.
had things like that, I wouldn't be so annoyed by it.
Hmm.
But since the show is mid, I'm asking those questions.
Yeah. But
Uh,
overall, like I said, there were some bright spots here. Not really bright, but there were also some elements that I enjoyed. I liked episode 7. Um, th- Episode 5 had some cool, concepts and some cool horror stuff. But overall, it was the ending really killed it for me. The two finales just really killed it for me because after episode 7, I was like, okay, I can kind of get on board with this. And then those two finales, just like,
that's how I felt after 5.
y'all
I
got
was
it.
like, I can kind of get on board with. Oh nope, y'all
Yep,
got
y'all got it.
it.
Y'all got it. So yeah, it's unfortunate because, like I said, there were some things I liked, but
and
it's gonna be a no for me, dog.
yeah, y'all could keep this.
For real, for real. And,
Uh,
and and
and
like I said, I probably give this like a 3 out of 5 overall. 3 out of 5. It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It's not like something like Catwoman or something like that. But it's even more frustrating because there are things that I like in it. They just don't drive it home.
It goes back to what we used to say. There's bad superhero project, or there's bad movies or shows, and then there's bad MCU projects.
Hmm.
This is a bad MCU project,
Yeah.
no question. This is, you know, people might think I'm a little extreme for this, but also keep in mind I did not hate this show that much. But this is about on the level of the Acolyte for me, where it's a show that it's just a mess and it doesn't know what to do with itself.
Hmm.
Just we had possibly the worst Star Wars show this year, and now we have possibly the worst MCU show this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what
It
are we
is the
doing?
bottom of my list, but I will say that I generally like the MCU shows, even the ones that people hate. So it's the bottom of my list, but it's not like the worst thing I ever seen.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, if you guys have any thoughts, you guys want to chime in, comment down below along with the stream. Like I said, if you guys liked it, I'm not mad. You know, I would never be mad at somebody for liking something.
Hmm.
I can't relate.
Can't
That's
relate.
just my basis.
That's our thing around here at Nerd Talk. Can't relate.
All right. I don't think I didn't get anything. Did you get anything for Christmas?
Nah,
No.
nah. I showed off what I got
Yeah,
on
I figured.
Wednesday.
I would have had something, but Amazon wants to be funny. Um, but we're gonna get on out of here. Thank you guys for the people that were popping in for the Sunday edition of Nerd Talk. We will not be back this Wednesday. We will be taking a break. We were supposed to do this stream in 2 weeks or next week, but I had switched that to a spoiler talk for the Penguin because Alex was not watching this show. So I was like, okay, let me move it to another date, do it with somebody else. So that
Mhm.
way we can say, hey, we talked about an MCU thing because good or bad, I like
We-
talking about the MCU on here.
Right.
You know, but we will be back next week doing a spoiler talk for the Penguin. Very excited about that. I am behind, but of what I've seen, I love it. Um, all of our Halloween OVRs are up on the channel. Thank you guys for interacting with those. If you have not seen them, go check them out. We did Evil Dead, Invisible Man, The Ring, Halloween,
Fright Night.
and Fright Night. We did those five. And we have another OVR coming next coming weeks for Sleeping Beauty to celebrate AJ's birthday. Not for Sleeping Beauty, but for Maleficent. But yeah, guys, if you guys are not following our Instagram, the link is down below. Please follow that. And if you are not subscribed to our channel, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for all notifications for future Nerd Talk videos and live streams. And we will see you on the next one, everybody. Stay safe.